right? Coming at you with the video. You guys know, most of you guys that watch my channel, you notice the super arm on the strong arm broke, and then I had to weld a new bracket and weld it on. Well, when I was in the process of building that bracket, my current welder is a Blue Star. It's basically like a 50-year-old welder, right? A Miller Blue Star electric start. I had a blown head gasket on it. I bought it used, and there was a lot of problems with it, and so I learned a lot of lessons. So I wanted to do an update video, and I figured why not do a live stream so I can show you guys the new welder I just bought and the process I went through when I bought the welder. So give you guys kind of a what to look for, how to test, that jazz type stuff. Okay. So first thing you're going to want to do when you go to buy a generator welder, you're going to want to look at its overall just face appearance. You know, when you first look at it, what are you noticing? Do you notice oil leaking out everywhere? Are you noticing, you know, that it's missing panels? Seen about the welder, right? Let me just go through here and show you. So this is the welder I just bought. It's a Bobcat 225G AC/DC welder, 8,000 watt generator, right? I just welded some wheels on the bottom. The guy had it listed for $2,500. I ended up picking it up for $1,500 bucks. I'm gonna tell you how the conversation went, everything about it, basically in this video also. Let me switch the camera around so this is a little bit easier for me. Okay, so you notice, you know, it didn't have a battery, but he did have a dead battery to bring with him, but it wasn't even the right kind to hook up to the welder, and I had my battery from my other welder that's sitting over there. That's the Blue Star. So let's walk over to the Blue Star, and I'll tell you a little bit about it real quick, just to kind of set the mood on how this all happened, right? So I picked this welder up for $700 bucks, and for $700 bucks, I think I may have overpaid a little bit, but I did get my money's worth out of this welder before it decided to kind of crap out on me, right? So the first thing, when I went to buy this, it was at nighttime. It was like almost this dark, and so the guys had flashlights. They're kind of like tweakerish, no offense, but they're kind of tweakerish. And I noticed everything was fresh paint, you know, and so I didn't realize that was oil on the motor. I just figured it was fresh paint because they kind of painted stuff. And I didn't notice then, but once I got home, I noticed that the air filter cleaner was missing. And it has some random switches. There's a random switch down there at the bottom that's just kind of just weird, just there for any weird reason. This generator welder, when I bought it, you know, I tested the electrical, the generator portion, and on this old welder, there's two switches you got to flip, right, to basically lock it into generator mode. And I did that. I plugged my DeWalt angle grinder in it, and it had quite a bit of juice. You know, I was like, wow, I wish my angle grinder was this hopped up all the time. And then, you know, after about 2 minutes of using it, then the switch burned out. So then I realized that the frequency of the electronics or the voltage was completely off on this welder, and that's what caused it to burn out the trigger for the angle grinder. And then after I built the tailgate for the super dump, then I noticed, me and Grandpa noticed that once you start welding, then it would start this knocking noise, and it would literally start like backfiring and doing all this funky stuff. And so we ended up finding out that the head gasket was blown right there. So I replaced the head gasket, and the head was had a little piece that had gotten eroded from when the head gasket blew. And so I put JB Weld on that and put it all back together. And so I started going to work on that eye for the strong arm, and it was working great. And then the welder started to warm up about halfway through the project. And then it started doing kind of not the same exact knocking noise, but it just wasn't the arc would slowly die. It was losing voltage, like the capacitor inside that supplies the arc just couldn't keep up or something. I don't know. But it seemed like when it was hot, that's what it was doing. And so finally I just decided, okay, this welder, it put in some good time. It's not really holding up to what I need at the moment. Obviously, you guys know I got my nice welder back there. Can't really use that right now because I just don't want to drag it out here and have it in the elements, and I don't want to drag it all the way up there to where my electrical panel is. And it's just too much of a hassle. So I decided to buy another generator welder. What's up, Doug? So this is the new welder. It's not really new. So the other welder, it's the 1970s. This is a 1991, I believe. It is a KB serial number, Doug. It does say KB on it. So I'm going to have to look at those manuals. Doug, I sent Doug a picture. He's like the master fabricator. And he mentioned the oil filter, you know, was old. Hadn't been changed since 2016. So first thing I did was change the oil, change the filter. And the oil wasn't bad at all. It was kind of dark. No metal shavings or nothing. You know, just kind of dark. So I changed the oil filter. Also changed the fuel filter. You can see the new fuel filter I got on there. And a new fuel line. The bottom fuel line was getting kind of crummy. Let me show you. So this is just one of the things that I just replaced because I just didn't want to deal with it halfway through a project of me working on something. It's not something I wanted to screw around with. So let me just show you real quick. So you can see the hoses, they're kind of cracked a little bit. They were kind of leaking. It's got these. Okay. Let's go back to what I was explaining. So it looked kind of grimy. And then also I noticed when it was running, this wasn't completely full of fuel. There was a lot of air in there. So I figured either the fuel line was sucking in air or, you know, the filter is compromised. But nonetheless, the welder was running great. I just figured, what the heck? It doesn't look that great. I really want this welder to last a long time. So I just said, you know what? It's $5, whatever it is, replace it. You know, not a big issue. Okay. So I also added just a teeny bit of seafoam into the gas, you know, to help clean it up a little bit inside. I did notice after I purchased it that this equipment repaired and tested by Central Welding Supply, right, in Seattle. So, and that looks like a fairly new sticker. I mean, it's not all scraped up like any of the other stickers, so I'm assuming it was, you know, worked on or something. Who knows? Maybe sold by them. So the story on this welder is, I got it from the guy. He was asking $2,500, and I asked the guys on my last video, and they said that was a little bit steep. Could be a good deal, might be a little bit steep. And so I, you know, was looking at the price of brand new welders that are basically of this capacity, and they're, you know, around $4,000 to $5,000 is what I was seeing. And so I messaged the guy, I said, $1,500 cash is the best I can offer. Brand new ones are, you know, of the same capability, are going for around, you know, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 depending on brand. And he said, okay, I'll give it to you for $1,500, $1,400 if you pick it up. And I said, I'll gladly pay the extra $100 for you to drop it off. And so we exchanged details, and he came. Apparently, this was his uncle's machine, and he passed away. And, you know, it's a little more machine than he needed. So, here's the machine. So, the first thing I did, check the oil. Oil was good on the dipstick. Looked fairly clean. Yes, I put wheels on it, Doug. Wheels are a priority for me. I got to be able to move the thing. Other than, you know, an engine crane. So that's how we ended up getting it in there. And we unloaded it from his pickup with this picker. And I ended up unloading it way over by the sawmill. And I ended up hooking this up to the side-by-side and just dragging it with it in the air. And that was eventful. Nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. And we ended up, you know, putting it in here because we had to leave and pick up Grandpa's pickup because I'm going to be towing a roller pretty soon. So he showed up. I said, okay, let's start the thing. We pulled the choke out, you know, started right up. No problems there. No issues. I'm going to pull this back real quick. One second. Let me do this. I'm going to set you guys up over here so you can watch me pull this thing back. All right. That engine picker is pretty heavy. Pretty doggone heavy. Okay, so what I want to do is rotate this thing around so the exhaust is blowing out. See, that's why you gotta have these wheels. Makes life so much easier. Now I just need to put some sort of handle on this bad boy. Okay. All right. Put this in here. And I'll show you how I tested everything. Okay. Let's flip this around. Okay, so we're going to start it up. First thing, with this, it's electric start. Pretty simple. If it's cold, you pull the choke out. If not, you just pull it all the way over and... It should idle down in a few seconds. Okay, there we go. So it just idled down. It is in the run idle position. You can have it in just the run position if you want. I put it in the run idle position. A little bit easier for me to talk. So once we got it started, then my biggest thing was I did not want to have another issue with the generator portion of the welder. So I basically got my voltmeter, right? You can see where it's set. That squiggly line is alternating current, so volts alternating. So let's move this to 200, because we're gonna test the 120 volts first, right? So then let's turn this on. Okay. So, now the way this works is when it's not idled up, it's running about 60 volts. Okay, so we need to, I need to air those tires up too. I just bought them. So we're gonna put this on run, and then I'm gonna jam these in the receptacles, and then you can see what the voltage looks like. But you're probably not gonna be able to hear me when I put this on run, just so you know. You're not gonna be able to hear me, it's just too loud. Let me find something to set this on. Okay, so I got my voltmeter. I'll just take these two right here and just jam them in. I don't know if you can see that. 119 volts. Okay, then I click this over to 750 to test. This is 240 volts for this. Did some welding. What I did was I just left it right sitting a little around 30 amps, and I struck up an arc, and you could tell it was cold. So then I cranked her up to about 60. That's kind of where I thought it should have been for the rod I was using, and then bada boom, bada bing. Let me see if I have the see if I have the plate I was welding on. There's a piece of plate metal over here somewhere. One of the kids must have been playing with it, or I lost it. Oh, so I'll just show you while I got you on. I'm gonna plug in my biggest angle grinder, and that thing draws 15 amps. So it's on idle run right now. Okay, set you right there. Okay, so you'll be able to hear it kick in. So that's the biggest angle grinder I have. And man, this thing, no smoke at all coming out of the muffler. Not like the other one. That one smokes. Starting to smoke a lot more. All right, let's shut her off. I want to find that piece of metal I was welding on. I don't know what happened to it. But the biggest thing is when you go to buy one of these welders, a generator welder, bring your voltmeter and bring some welding rods. That's the biggest thing you want to do, especially when you're buying one of these. I know I have that piece of steel around here somewhere. I was going to show it to you. Maybe it's underneath this creeper. Nope. I don't know what I did with it. Anyways. So, the biggest thing, bring your voltmeter, bring some welding rods, and, you know, test the thing out. Put it through its paces. Bring a compression gauge. Yeah, that would probably be a good thing if you know how to use a compression gauge. The spark plug isn't that hard to get at least one of them is right there. The other one, pretty easy to get to also, right there. You know, usually if it's, I would say it's pretty good rule of thumb, if it ain't smoking, the compression's probably decent if it starts and runs. I mean, I don't really know much about motors, so I could be totally wrong. But yeah, we changed the oil filter right there. We drained the oil. That was it. Changed the fuel filter. I pulled that spark plug out. Looked great. I was gonna replace the spark plugs too, just for the heck of it, you know, because that's just one of those things that spark plugs do wear out. But I'm very, very satisfied with this welder so far. I think we're gonna get a lot of use out of this bad boy. So I did add wheels, as you can see. I went to Tractor Supply store and I bought a rod for the axle on the back, and I bought 2 of those tires, and then I bought 2 swivel tires, and I welded, as you can see, let me show you real quick. Doug, it doesn't have an hour meter. So I tack welded these washers. You can see I just tack welded them to the axle. And then I welded the axle to those brackets, right? And so the washers keep the tire in line. And if I ever need to take one off, I can just cut a little bit and then pull it right off. And then these ones, I put a bolt on it to hold it, and then I just tack welded right down the side and right down the side of that also. Because it didn't really have a setup for those tires. I guess I'm kind of lazy. I could have cut those brackets off and refabbed up new brackets like that with 4 holes on it that I could bolt those to, but that seemed like a little too much work for me. And so I just wanted something quick and easy that I knew was going to hold, you know, fairly decent. So that's pretty much what I did. It's not like I'm dragging it around all day long or something like that. It's just once in a blue moon, you got to be able to drag a welder around. So very happy with the welder. Very, very happy. Electric start, it's a must. With a motor that big, you do not want to be trying to pull start a 16 horsepower motor every time you want to weld something. So definitely recommend that. Another good thing to do is check the, you know, the air filter. I already checked that. It looked pretty good. The main thing, you know, you can tell that this welder has been, well taken care of, versus that welder was used and abused for a long time. I mean, the stickers on this are all still pretty good. Not missing any body panels that I can tell. Almost all the things are legible, On this welder over here, almost nothing is legible on the front of it. It's getting to the point where it's almost nothing is legible, right? Yeah. That was the biggest thing for me, Doug. That it sounds so smooth. The idle sounds so smooth. So I was like, yep. And didn't, have any blue smoke or anything like that. No white smoke. I was like, yeah, we got ourselves a winner. I did notice that it was leaking fuel. And it still looks like it may be leaking fuel. Where is it leaking from? This thing right here. I don't know what this is. Doug, do you know what this is? It's some sort of fuel 149-2501. 149-2501. I may need to get a rebuild kit for this thing. Whatever this is, because it's leaking. I thought it was the fuel line that was leaking. It looks like it appears that this thing is leaking. It's leaking a little bit of gas. I thought it was the fuel line. Apparently it's that. I don't know if it's the fuel pump. It doesn't have any electric to it. No electrical plugins or anything on that. Only 3 hoses. In, out, and then it has this extra hose on the back. I don't know what that does. This is a fuel filter. You think this is a fuel pump? Maybe it's a vacuum operated fuel pump. That's the vacuum, maybe? No, it works off crankcase pressure. Oh, okay, so the pressure in the crankcase is what appear to be affecting the, but I don't like gas leaking out of everything. It does. I bet there's a diaphragm in there that's getting worn out. That's my guess. I'll have to look up that part number and see if I can find a rebuild kit for it. Probably not bad. Probably just a cheap little thing. This does look new, whatever this is. I don't know what that is, but it looks new. Some sort of solenoid, maybe. It was leaking and it quit. What do you think one of those costs? Probably like $30 or less, I would assume. But I'm very, very satisfied with this welder. This thing is the way this thing welds, man, let me tell you what, it does good. So these are the leads it came with, Doug. I guess it's a little smaller than my ring finger. But I could not find any markings whatsoever on this cable to see what size it is. But yeah, I was using 6011 and 7018. I welded with both rods just to see if they both worked good, and it seemed to do good on both rods that I welded with it. This is what I was telling you about it looks like maybe a spool gun can attach to this. Maybe a suitcase or something. That looks like a MIG gun to me. Yeah, I did. I looked everywhere on the cable. I didn't see nothing. I mean, maybe there once was. Maybe it's scratched off. Who knows? It's not that heavy duty a cable though. I can tell you that because that cable is way heavier. Way heavier. Is it a 14-pin connector? I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to as 14-pin. All of them are the same. They're just, this right here turns 180 and then it pulls out. Ugh. And then it tightens up. CV, whatever CV stands for. CC work. But the, so the ground lead is not that long. The ground's like maybe 10 feet, give or take. Maybe 15. So, trying to give you an idea here. So the ground is probably 15 to 20 feet. You can see I'm holding it. The electrode holder, now that goes quite a bit further because it has an extension. You can see where the extension connects. So the original, electrode lead, that's only 10 feet maybe. But the extension goes out quite a ways. I'll set this right here and kind of pull it out so you guys can see. It goes quite a ways. So that's nice. Let me just drop my phone over here. So the electrode lead is easily double the length. You can't see it, but it's basically double the length for the electrode holder. So he did give me an extra extension. But it's missing one of the connectors. Right? So, plus, this looks like it's a little bit thinner. Yeah, that's a tad bit thinner of a wire. You can tell it's a little bit thinner. But nonetheless, it's still, still an extra, 15 feet if I can get another plug. So I might look into that because that'd be nice. I really like having long leads. Makes life so much easier, so much better. So what are those kind of plugs called? Do you know? Do you know what those are called? I think I seen them at Tractor Supply, but they were a smaller connector. They weren't quite that size. But I put 1030 purple in there, and I also put oil stabilizer. Tweco is the brand name. Okay. I'll have to look into that. Tell you what though, I am very, very happy with this welder. Looks like it has electrode positive, AC, and electrode negative. And then it also tells you what those can be put on. Tweco. Or Tweco. First or second? Tweco or Tweco? Tweco sounds kind of funny. But it's interesting to me that the 240 volts is only 15 amps circuit. For some reason, I would think it would be more than that. Yeah, 7018 is a DC ROS, and the 6011 is an AC rod. But 7018 can be both, I thought. It just flows better. Optional rod. What does that say? You can tell this thing has been in that position for a long time because it's bleached into it. Oh, DC rod. And the 6011 is AC rod. So, they make AC 7018 rod. So, if I were to use 7018 AC rod, then I would just click this over into the AC mode. I'm guessing. Sweet. I'm not sure what rod I have. I got this big box. Is basic. That was another reason why I was pretty happy when I bought this one. I got this big box. Do you know if that's AC or DC? 7018 MR. But this thing, full, I only paid like 50 bucks for it. Maybe it was like 30 or 40 or something. He just threw it in. I was like, sweet! Because that box is like 75 bucks, 90 bucks. For 1/8 inch 7018, that's like a $70-$80 box of rod right there. I mean, not that I really needed it because I have a bucket full of welding rods around here somewhere. I think they're back there. So that is an AC rod then. I've been using it as a DC rod. It's been working great for me. At least seems like it's been working great. But, yep. Very, very happy with this. And it's got a nice lift point. Solid lift point. That was one thing about that welder that I was not happy with. The lift point, you can lift it with that, but because it's missing bolts and stuff on the panels, it like started to come apart. So I had to put a strap all the way around it before I lifted it. So I just ended up cutting the strap and leaving it on there. That one's got a nice lift point. So that's the new welder, baby, right there. Man, that thing is sweet. I think I got a good deal. For a used welder, you know, 1,500 bucks. That was with it delivered. You know, can you find these cheaper? You probably can. You know, but this one looks like it's been pretty well taken care of, so I'm happy I bought it. You did get a good deal. Sweet. That's good to hear. It's always good to hear from other people, though, too. You know what I mean? Because, like, you don't really know. Like, I'm not a welding... I don't buy welders on the daily. So, you know, and I'm not really... I'm an okay welder. I'm not like a pro welder or nothing. I dabble in it, you know, mainly by force. I started welding more than 10 years ago. I've been welding since 2008, 2007. And I started with a little buzz box, and I still got it. Oh, well, so here's the reason why I decided to buy this instead of trying to figure out that mess. Here's what I figured. I said to myself, okay, a mobile welder is a great tool to have because, number one, you can put it in a pickup truck and you can go to a job site and you can weld something. That welder back there, I ain't putting that in a pickup and going to a job site and welding something. Is that an amazing welder? Yes. It does not work for mobile welding, though. Okay. This one was working great, and it cut out on me. So I had to upgrade. And my excuse was, here's what I was telling myself. I said, okay, do I need a mobile welder right now? Not today, but the answer is yes, I do need one soon, because here's why. As you guys know, the tailgate on the 2020 Peterbilt was junk, and I had to make a new one. Well, guess what? The International tailgate isn't that much better. And I don't know if it was the driver that forgot to unlatch the dogs or if the dog's stuck. Both have happened. So I'm not going to find fault in anybody, and there's no real reason to investigate any further. It happened, so what? Who cares? But the dogs did not get unlatched, or they were stuck, and it bulged out the tailgate on the International. I smashed it back in with the excavator. It's got a tight fit right now. But I knew when I bought that International that tailgate, I knew going into it that the tailgate was junk. I could tell it was junk because where the lights were on the side piece, it's completely rusted through. Both sides. And you can tell that they had done repairs to it to fill the gap in, to keep it from leaking product and stuff out the back. And so here's what my justification was for getting this, right? If that tailgate goes, I need to be able to fix it in a weekend that week. That's worth $7,000 to me. If I can fix that tailgate that week, it's worth $7,000 to me. So this welder, if I have to build a tailgate in one weekend, which I've had to do before, I've had to do it with that welder paid for itself 7 times just by that one tailgate, right? I paid $700 for it. Every single fabrication shop wanted $7,000 in a month to build a tailgate. So having a mobile welder, to me, is a necessary thing. You got to have a welder if you're going to own a dump truck. That's just one of the things. Like, I hate to break it to you. If you want to own a dump truck, you better buy yourself a welder, because you just became a fabricator when you bought that dump truck. Yeah, amen to that, like Doug. Yeah, flux core works in the field a little bit, but you still have to get stuff super clean. You can't just run a 6011, a 6011 rod. You can run that through paint, rust, whatever you want. It's going to burn a decent weld into it, Yeah, exactly, Doug. So a mobile welder, to me, is 100% worth the cost of the investment, because I know for a fact I can build myself a tailgate that's going to last. And it saves me a lot of money, right? So obviously, tailgates aren't the only thing that go south on dump trucks. I mean, all it takes is one boulder or one piece of concrete to hit wrong, and it will tear the metal, you know? Does that happen every day? No. Does it happen once a year? Usually not, but it does happen, right? Dump trucks are abused. They are abused. So, you know, a welder to me is one of those tools that I will not live without a good welder. That welder still welds, but I lost a lot of faith in it on that last repair because halfway through the repair, I basically had to tack weld every section of that bracket because it wasn't holding a steady arc. It was dying off. It would start strong, and then next thing you know, it would just disappear. The arc, it just wouldn't hold an arc. I don't know what is causing that. It seemed to me like the hotter the machine got, the lower the idle went. The idle would just fall too fast, and it just didn't have the juice. That's what it seemed like to me. I'm not a mechanic for welders. I have no clue. So, I mean, I'm going to try and sell that one. I listed it for $500. I think it's worth every bit of $500, at least in scrap, you know. It still does weld. You can still weld with it. It's just, you know, it's not a reliable machine for me and what I need. So I'm going to try and sell that for $500. And I'm glad I bought this for $1,500. It seems like it's going to be a great investment. I'm going to get that fuel pump rebuilt for sure, now that I know that's a fuel pump. I just thought it was some sort of fuel mixture or something. I didn't even know what to think about it, but whatever. I'm going to get a new one of those ASAP. But I think this is going to be a great investment. Definitely worth $1,500. I could have got it for $1,400 if I picked it up, but you know, I didn't want to drive a dump truck to Olympia because it would have cost me $100 in fuel. Just about to drive there and back. I probably would have spent $30-40 in fuel and the 2 hours. So it was well worth paying $100 to have it delivered. So it is a gasoline generator. It is gas. See, what else can I tell you about it? I just put the 4 wheels on it. That one has a solid axle, and these ones pivot. I love it. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to air those 2 tires up, and then I'm going to wrap everything up, put my tools away. I just got done changing the oil and the filter and fuel line. And so I'm going to put everything away and get it all wrapped up and call it a night. But thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hope if you guys go out to look for a welder, you follow some of that advice. Bring a multimeter and bring some welding rods and something to weld on. The thicker, the better, you know. That way, you know, you can put some real heat into it, you know. Make sure that thing can pump out some juice. And, you know, that's my advice. Don't forget to pound that like button, pound the subscribe button. Look forward to the traditional video. I'm probably going to do a traditional video on this, what to look for in buying a used welder. I think that's very helpful information out there. Not a whole lot of videos out there, what to look for, so I might do one of those videos. Let me know in the comments if you think I should or shouldn't, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.